Welcome to Blue Talks.
Hello, my name is Davis Hahn. Glad to be here in Miami today. And I'd like to share a story. We're in Miami, and of course there are a lot of Cuban folks here. And I have kind of a special relationship with the country of Cuba. I enjoyed going there. I attended the only university in the world dedicated to canine life studies, Bergin University of Canine Studies, currently called Bergin College of Canine Studies, founded by Dr. Benita Bergin, who founded the service dog concept. Instead of getting a motorhome and doing what you're supposed to do in your 60s, she took on the US government and got a college accredited. It's the only one of its kind in the world. People come from all over the world to teach and learn about dogs to help man. As I've said before, the more we complicate our world, the more we turn to dogs for a solution. And this is the university where those solutions come to mind. So I read a magazine article one day called Havana Dreaming. One day Americans would be able to go to Havana, Cuba. The Cubans for 70 years were like rats trapped in a cage and they weren't allowed to leave the island. But the Americans weren't allowed to go to Cuba either. So there's a little travel issue on both sides of the equation. But I dreamed about it. It seemed like a fascinating country with a wild history, but we couldn't go there. But then President Obama got elected and he encouraged people-to-people contacts, right? Which was kind of a cool thing, I think. And I wanted to go, and he said, you could go if it's pursuant to academic research in conjunction with an accredited US university with the likelihood of your findings being published. The problem was Bergin University of Canine Studies was not accredited at that point. So that kept me from going there. But then Bonnie walked into a classroom one day, hey, we got accredited. Boy, bells and whistles started going off. So I researched the internet. How do you get a dog into Cuba? Well, the communist government of Cuba doesn't put a lot on the internet, trust me. Their people at the time, their citizens, weren't even allowed access to the internet. So I decided I wasn't going to go. But then I had a classmate who said, Dave, you're a great guy, but you're nothing without your dog. And you know what? She was right. So I got all kinds of papers in English and Spanish, and I said, I'm going to go. I just hope they don't take my dog. Well, I dressed my dog up as John Lennon. Imagine all the people living as one, right? And I said, we're going to go into Cuba. So I bought toys for the Cuban children. I bought crates for the veterinarians, packed one crate inside the other crate, put the toys in, put my clothes in. So I had 2 suitcases. But again, we didn't fly to Cuba. I relied on Bahamas Air to get me in. I said, Captain, you flew me when I bum rushed your plane that day. You agreed to let the dog stay in cabin. I'd like to go to Cuba, and you fly from Nassau into Havana. You know what? I just happened to have his email address left in my computer. I got an email. Mr. Hahn, Bahamas Air would be delighted to fly you and Booster, not your dog, you and Booster in Havana, anything to promote better international relations. So you know what? We flew to Miami. Bahamas Air met us at the airport. You must be Mr. Hahn and this must be Booster. Well, they flew us into Havana. This was my graduation thesis. Project Fidelity to project fidelity between the United States and Cuba. I figured humans haven't been able to do it for decades. Maybe a dog could do what a human could not, right? So I dressed Booster up as John Lennon and we flew into the airport. Man grabbed me on the shoulder. I said, oh Lord. He said, no, calm down. I'm the airport veterinarian. I got a yellow Labrador too. He slipped me his phone number because the Cubans were not allowed to interact with the tourists in the day. He was a veterinarian and he invited me to meet him for lunch. That night at the hotel, the grand piano was playing, Imagine All the People. Oh, John Lennon's here with us tonight. Okay, cool. So the next day I hooked a ride on a taxi with my Booster, one of those pedal taxis as you see here. And we met the veterinarian at a park. And I'm sitting on a bench next to the statue of this guy who looks vaguely familiar. And he walks up and he said, this is John Lennon Park. This is in Vedado, Cuba. Ah, he said, when this park was dedicated by Fidel, this statue was under 8 feet of flowers. People from all over the world came here. Wow, my higher power is stalking me now, another John Lennon. So we went into the communist country totally controlled. We were in the streets. The Cubans were not allowed to interact. They'd put their name in a book. But when I had my dog Booster, they never intervened. Crowds by the score surrounded us in the streets, looked like the biggest drug deal going down. But the police, they knew it was about education, and I think Cuba values education. So here you will see the Cubans loving and adoring my dog. You'll see my dog Booster getting a belly rub from the children. They invited us into the classrooms, elementary classroom. These are the leaders of tomorrow, okay? Now they're learning about how a dog can help people. They also invited us into classrooms for the disabled children. And I have to tell you, I saw modern cochlear implants in the ears, modern canes and walkers, but it was an honor to be invited. And then we were invited to meet the leader of the blind, ANSI, the leader for the disabled, Aclafim, the leader for the implant for the plants and animals of Cuba. It was quite an honor. And it was all because I had a special dog, my Booster. And we met disabled folks all over the streets in Cuba. We were invited, you ready for this, to appear on live television in Fidel, Cuba. I don't know if any other American, maybe they are, I don't know. But we appeared on live television and live radio. How cool is that? As an American in a country that didn't really appreciate Americans.
Presidenta de la Sociedad de Protección de Animales y Plantas, que cada 15 días nos trae temas fabulosos. Solo un corte para que llegue. Bienvenida, Nora. Bueno, apareció la dueña del Chihuahua.
Felicísima, a las pocas horas de haber
Que
estado
trajiste acá, yo te lo agradezco muchísimo, igual que han llegado muchísimas llamadas por los animales que trajiste de víctimas del tsunami y cómo fueron ayudados de todo eso, te lo agradezco tanto. Pero ahora, no te se pregunte, dime de este premio.
Mira, hoy es el Día de los Niños, un día lindo para tener algo así. Y dentro de unos días tenemos el Día del Perro, que es el 10 de abril. Y coincide todo esto porque tenemos en nuestro país la visita de un perro que es protagonista en el mundo de un trabajo. Son perros de servicio que están dedicados.
Perro de servicio, eso me llama la atención.
Están entrenados para poder ayudar a personas discapacitadas en sus necesidades. Son perros educados que viven y trabajan para sus dueños. Y entonces el proyecto de este señor, del que los entrena, del que ha traído este proyecto tan precioso, se llama Fidelidad. Él vino con el propósito de enseñarnos a su amigo, su perro, a Buster, que es un conocido amigo que lo pueden haber visto en muchos programas de televisión que se ponen. Y bueno, la enseñanza que él da es la ayuda que él puede darle a las personas.
Usted está entrenado para ayudar.
Para ayudar a un discapacitado, a una persona que le falta una pierna, que no camine, que le falta un brazo, o sea, cada uno se entrena para una cualidad. Y Buster tiene muchas cosas que poder demostrar. Ese es un labrador.
Un labrador.
Pero la idea es que solidaridad llegue a cualquier perro que pueda ayudar a su dueño.
Ya, y él puede mostrarnos algo.
Vamos a tratar de que nos muestre algo.
A ver, ¿qué nos va a mostrar Buster?
A ver,
Booster, will you get my shoes, please? Bring me my shoes.
él va a buscarle los zapatos ahora.
Gracias. Booster, my other shoe, please.
El otro zapato.
Gracias. Un momento. Booster, sock.
Te va a quitar la frente.
Gracias, Booster. Booster, where's my hat? Booster, where's my hat?
¿Dónde está el sombrero?
Oh, gracias. Sit,
Que
please.
lo ayuda a quitarse las cosas.
Entra, dijo entra.
Treat.
Ay,
Booster. No momento.
Ahora le va a poner una comidita en las patas
Bueno,
y a mostrar la
leave it.
obediencia.
No.
No lo
No.
toca.
le pone comidita en las patas
Y no la toca. Observa. Hasta que él no le da la orden, él es incapaz de hacer nada que no sea.
You want it? Sí. No habla español, Booster. Okay.
Ahora es que,
Cuando le da
porque
la
eso
orden.
forma parte de la educación.
Claro, porque tiene que ser obediente, si no puede llevar al traste el entrenamiento y puede dañar incluso a la persona que esté ayudando. Pero además,
Hat?
Que traiga, él entiende cuando se le dice todo.
Él abre un refrigerador, le da agua, puede llamar por teléfono, pedir auxilio
Balance.
a través del teléfono.
Entonces es verdad lo que hemos visto.
Es verdad, marca el ascensor
Se entrena para todo.
para
Wait. Balance.
obediencia.
Balance.
Se tiene que hacer
Wait.
todo sin fallar.
Le puso una moneda allí.
Balance. Wait.
Quietecito con una moneda en el hocico.
Good boy. Give me 5. Yes.
Excelente.
And Booster say, hola. Hola.
Hola,
Ya
Hola.
hola, hola.
Yes. Hola. Gracias, Booster. Yes.
Ay, qué bien. Claro,
My
siempre hay que...
amigo. Yeah. Good boy. Down.
Claro, siempre hay que estimular.
Down.
Viaja, sí, siempre hay un pedazo. El viaje en la cabina.
Ah, good boy.
Eso ayuda.
Este tipo de perros viajan en la
Sí, cuando están entrenados, además mírale el arnés que está identificado.
con
Ahí
su...
tiene todo y tiene su documentación que le permite viajar.
Podemos, ya ha
Touch.
habido experiencia en
Touch.
Cuba de entrenarlos así.
No,
Comenzaron ahora.
Comenzamos ahora con un acercamiento con la CRIF y un acercamiento para este trabajo. Y con
Puede
el-
entrenarse igual un pastor alemán, por ejemplo.
pudiera entrenarse
Y
también.
ayudar a ciertos
La
lugares.
característica de estos perros es su docilidad y su inteligencia. Pero incluso hasta mestizos podemos llegar a compartir con ellos y enseñarles
Leave it.
y que nos ayuden también.
Ahora, como siempre, defiende a los satos.
¿En qué tú piensas? Ellos tienen derecho también.
Ay, que le puso ahí una cosita que no va a tocar. Su pastillita, que hasta que él no le diga no la va a tocar.
No, él no la toca hasta que no le
Y
diga.
eso a ellos
Le
les
hace-
encanta, un saborcito rico para ellos.
No, basta.
Se lo dice la otra persona y
Good
él no lo
boy.
toma, no lo toma.
Sit.
Qué buena idea, qué
Wait.
buena.
Es algo muy bello y muy estimulante para aquellas personas que tienen perros, para que sepan hasta qué punto pueden ser amigos y ser solidarios con ellos.
Ahora, como siempre, muchísimas gracias a Buster, a su entrenador. Y cuando ya comiencen a entrenarse también perros en Cuba, podríamos traer, ¿verdad?
Claro que sí, por supuesto. Él va a llevar ahora uno que se llama Fidelidad, recogido de la calle, y lo va a llevar, se lo lleva para entrenar.
Para entrenarlo.
Así que cuando
Drop it.
regrese con
El
Fidelidad,
zapato.
Get it?
Ya. Vamos a despedirnos, Buster,
Drop it.
con un extra. Dile que se...
dígale que haga un extra para...
Ya. Ahí. Extra.
Sit.
Bueno, pues entonces, gracias, muchísimas gracias. Y vamos a un corte y regresamos con Marino, las preguntas que han hecho ustedes vía telefónica, sus opiniones y a ver si tienen correctamente las respuestas a las adivinanzas.
I felt sorry for the dogs there. So there was this one little dog, and I knew she was in pain. So the Cuban got his ox and his cart, and we toted that dog to a veterinarian. This is what the little dog looked like. There was another little dog. Well, one day I'm sitting on a curb in 100-degree heat, and this little dog runs up and jumps in my lap. He was half mange and half fur, maybe a little more mange. And he was homeless on the streets of Havana. And suddenly I broke down in tears because I remembered when my life was bad. And I was out there on my own. I bought a camper and isolated, almost took my own life. But at that point, it just hit me. And this boy in the pedal taxi, "Senor, can I help you?" "Yeah, I want to help this little dog." He got a burlap sack out of the garbage. He wrapped that dog up. He took us to a vet's office. The office was closed. He took me to his brother's home, the barber who loves dogs. I gave him a few CUC currencies, and he agreed to help with the dog. Well, later on, the animal welfare president, Nora Garcia, she picked the dog up. They brought the dog back to health, and I wanted to bring him back to the US. Couldn't do it. We didn't fly there. Bahamas Air couldn't help me with this one because they didn't have a cargo agreement to ship the dog. Well, guess what? There was a Canadian animal welfare group, a Mexican animal welfare group. They all came together, and I got an email one day. "We hear you love this Cuban dog." "I do." I got an email from Air Transat, the Canadian airline. Would you be willing to pick the dog up if we fly him cost-free to Toronto? Rings on my fingers, bells on my toes, I'll be there. Air Transat flew that little dog up to Toronto. And when they opened the crate for the dog, he came running up and kissed me on the lips. And I ended up getting him through Chicago O'Hare and got him home. And I made a little video which you can watch. So I've got to tell you that my booster was probably one of the finest canine human ambassadors, and I think he accomplished a lot more maybe than a lot of the Americans who have tried to do so. I do praise President Obama for fostering human-to-human contact, and I'm appreciative of my dog for being able to do that. I had an amazing time there. And it's just amazing what you can do with a great education and with a passion instilled within and with a great service dog. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.